Hi, I'm Ben-Zeev. I'm a professor of psychology at San Francisco State University. My area of expertise is cognitive psychology, and I co-coordinate the Mind, Brain, and Behavior program here. My area of expertise largely centers on stereotyping and their effects on physiology and well-being. And the phenomenon that I'm most interested in is called stereotype threat, and it has been pioneered by Claude Steele. But before I tell you what stereotype threat is, I'd like to share a personal anecdote. So when I was young, I was born all the way back far away in the Middle East to a construction worker family in Israel, and they never expected me to go to college. So when I found myself in college, initially I thought, well, I'm here, I was in the United States, I went to college to stay actually in the country. And when I found myself in college, I thought, I'm here, but I'm not really interested. Those people don't know anything about real life. I don't belong here. I'm not supposed to be here. But then I got hooked on to psychology, and I started caring. And I started caring about what my professors thought of me. And when I did, I felt a tremendous amount of anxiety. And what I know in retrospect is that my fear was not fear of failure, but it was actually fear of success. Because I was pretty comfortable coming from a background where I was not especially encouraged to pursue higher education. At the time, I was partner to a guy who, to my ex-partner, Henry, who was at Brown, and I was in Rhode Island College, and I just did school to stay in the country. But then when I found out the joys of doing research, of academia, I had a fear, and the fear was, well, if I continue to succeed and do well, I'm going to be found out as a fraud. That was my fear. And it created tremendous anxiety to the point of almost leaving college and leaving the country and leaving Henry. And despite that, I managed to get through it and get my education from Yale. So what is stereotype threat? What happened to me and what happens to a lot of other people? When one comes from a background that has been prohibitive to success, for example, in this country, largely Black and Latino, women and men from underrepresented groups, want to succeed in academia. When they enter a classroom and pursue higher education, there is often an additional pressure to do well that other people don't feel. Other people who are more privileged don't feel. So here's a person who may come from low socioeconomic status, who may not see themselves reflected in the environment they're in, and the fear is one of confirming a negative stereotype about one's group. So here I am, I may be, it's not me, but this may be the only Black person in a sea of white people, and then the pressure is, if I don't do well, I misrepresent my people. Also, if I do well, then I'm afraid that at some point I will be found out as a fraud. So stereotype threat is a predicament in which people feel the negative ramifications of stereotyping. They feel the onus of confirming a positive stereotype about the group, and that causes physiological arousal to increase, cortisol reactivity, and underperformance to ensue. Luckily, we know of many ways to combat this phenomenon.